Hey everyone, this is Tankenstein coming to you live and direct from the middle of nowhere, the center of everywhere, to bring to you today your review and should you buy video for the J6K1 premium event vehicle for the Japanese Air Tech Tree that you could earn via Operation Frost or purchase on the marketplace. So that being said, I'll be going over quite a bit in this video, including its role, kind of some special features of it, also some pros and cons, and also a final recommendation as to whether or not you should purchase this. And in my humble opinion, I'll just say before I get to the end of the video, you probably should, but if you'd like to know exactly why and kind of all the facets with this plane, stick around. This will be a very much an information-packed video. Before I get into it, remember, please like, comment, subscribe. Subscribing really does mean a lot to me, and it helps my channel grow. But without further ado, let's get into this. And just so you know, there will be a good amount of gameplay video in the background. This thing, I had no trouble getting off the ground and just wiping people out. It's difficult not to get 2 or 3 kills at minimum in a match with this. So, like I said, without further ado, let's get into it. What's the thing that really stands out with this plane? The biggest announcement, right? So it looks fairly standard, maybe a little bit larger than a lot of other Japanese fighters, but it's fairly standard, in terms of layout. It doesn't really look all too incredibly streamlined, but, obviously it is. It's a Japanese fighter. But the thing that stands out is the fact that it has 6 20mm machine guns all in the wings. And typically you would think, that's not really a great placement for it, but man, it does not matter. So one thing that I feel a lot of people are not giving credence to when it comes to this is the fact that it has 1,200 rounds of ammunition, so 200 rounds per gun. Again, it's fairly high, especially for a Japanese fighter, especially on a per gun basis. You get 200 rounds per cannon. But the thing that really makes it special, and something that I feel a lot of people are not taking into consideration here, is the fact that its fire rate is under 500 rounds per minute. So 490 rounds per minute with 200 rounds of ammo. I did the math. It sits at around, I believe, 24.6 seconds is how much time that you can fire these cannons without running out of ammunition. Almost 25 seconds. That is insane. So these guns are among the lowest fire rate in the entire game when it comes to 20mm. It's much lower than a lot of 30mm. It's just ridiculous. But the thing that this does so well, this plane above anything else, is that you have such a huge swath of guns. You've got 6 guns, where if this was 2 cannons, 2 20mm cannons, I might say, wow, okay, that's a low fire rate. But you have so much ammunition, so much firepower coming out of this thing all at once that the fact that maybe you have a 30% or 40% lower fire rate compared to a lot of other 20mm does not matter. In fact, I would say it actually works in the favor of this plane by having a lower fire rate because you can just keep firing. I mean, I don't know if I've actually ever had to reload this thing before I get shot down. And you're talking, I'll shoot out 3 or 4 or 5 planes in the sky easily. It's just difficult not to get numerous kills with this. So without kind of getting more into kind of the nuances of it, I'll just get into the stats right now. So its max speed is 685. It certainly feels pretty quick, but it achieves that 10,000 meters. That's not something a lot of people are going to be at all the time. It feels fairly quick in that it can achieve a high speed throughout a range of altitudes. But it's definitely not as quick as a lot of other fighters. One thing that I did notice, though, is that the dive rate on this is it's just excellent. I think a lot of that owes to its additional weight and also stronger engine compared to a lot of other Japanese fighters. The turn time is actually fairly good, especially for this BR and especially for this heavy of an armament at 18 seconds. It feels a lot better than that, and it's rare that you'll be outturned, as with most Japanese fighters. And its rate of climb actually feels better than the 16 meters per second that it kind of gives you. One thing additionally is that it carries, you can have up to 4 60-kilogram bombs or 2 250-kilogram bombs, which is about average, a little bit above average, I would say, for similar BR Japanese fighters. The reason being is because a lot of other Japanese fighters from around this BR can carry only 50 kilogram bombs rather than the 60, so it's not a ton of difference, but if you're looking for the extra explosive mass, I mean, I guess everything really counts. So that being said, let's get into some gameplay videos, and I'll kind of go over some pros and cons, some of the nuances of it, including the roll of the plane. So as I kind of said in the intro with this, the thing that really stands out are its 6 20mm machine guns, and I think more so because of the low fire rate, which really is to its advantage. So that being said, as I may have mentioned before, there's no air target ammunition. But this is something familiar with most Japanese cannons, so most do not have that. There are a few Japanese planes that have air target ammunition. However, those have German-sourced MG-151s, for example, and things of that nature. But it's way more than made up for it with its stealth ammunition. So that being said, all this combined, I would say that its primary role, even though historically it was really meant to be an interceptor to shoot out B-29s from Japanese skies, I would say that even more so, it's an excellent dogfighter. Just for the pure sake that at 18 seconds for return rate and also excellent energy retention, you will more than likely just be able to out-duel almost anyone in the match in the game. And you'll also have a ton, just an absolute ton of firepower just to shoot at them while you're turning in on them. Additionally, and as for its historical role, I would say it is also an excellent interceptor, obviously. That stealth ammunition will set any bomber, I guess you could say, engines on fire. It just is absolutely ridiculous in that role. It's ridiculous in shooting it down any planes. Of course, if you had maybe one or two 30mm machine guns or cannons on top of the 20s, that would obviously be significantly more powerful. But in its current layout, it is definitely more than suited to take anything out of the sky. I would say that this plane really just simply has the agility and the speed, again, as well as the armament, just to be at least as deadly as anything else in the game, especially at its BR. If you get down-tiered with this plane, you will more likely than not dominate, and, unless you get, for whatever reason, jets while you're playing this plane, you'll also probably dominate regardless of the tier. So let's get into some pros and cons. And I would say first and foremost, its pro is obviously the thing that makes it stand out, and that's its cannons. And again, as I mentioned before, I think that its fire rate really works in the favor of the cannons because it just has a salvo of ammunition coming out at any given time. And being that you have a 25-second, more or less, fire time just makes it ridiculously good. I would also say, obviously, being that it's a Japanese fighter, the turn time is excellent. That's another pro. Its climb rate is also pretty good. I feel that's better than the stat card shows, so that would also be listed as another pro. Additionally, one thing that I find is an excellent pro with this, and it's something that's kind of more of a secondary thing, but it's also, again, excellent. It's the fact that it has a nice secondary armament. So that's something that's kind of sorely needed from a lot of Japanese fighters. But obviously, just historically speaking, they didn't really decide to make a lot of multi-role planes. So just having the option for two 250 kilogram bombs or four 60 kilogram bombs is certainly nice and kind of lends to the multi-role aspect of this. And so far as cons are concerned, I feel that the cons with this plane kind of are across any of the Japanese planes. It's very lightly armored, so your fuel tank will just catch fire and will not stop, more likely than not. So if that happens, you're probably a goner. It's got a relatively low top speed compared to other planes in the BR. If you end up being in just a chase war with someone else, you're not going to win it, regardless of the side that you're on, whether you're chasing or being chased. The turn rate is excellent, but it really diminishes, obviously, once it starts getting damaged. And also because it turns so quickly, even though its energy retention is relatively good, you can see your speed being reduced dramatically if you're not careful with it. Additionally, I would say that its lack of a dedicated air ammunition. So it's stealth ammunition more than makes up for it. But if that's something that you would really want, is an pure air ammunition, I guess you could say belts, and you do not have and you just really would much rather prefer tracers, that's something that is definitely needed with this plane. But if you got this far playing with Japanese planes, more likely than not, you're already used to it. Insofar as my recommendation is concerned, and there's not really a ton of cons with this plane, it's just really kind of like a souped up Japanese plane. So if you know the pros with Japanese planes already and the cons with Japanese planes, you will more than likely be at home with this. But insofar as my recommendation is concerned, I would say definitely get this plane. So if you're buying it off the marketplace because you didn't earn it during Operation Frost, if you're buying it and the prices for whatever reason, I would say anything above $30, I might hold off on it. It depends on what your intentions are with the Japanese tech tree. This plane you may as well be printing silver lines with it, printing currency. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the amount of planes that you can shoot down with this with such ease is insane. And I've already grinded out several planes with this just after only a few matches with the plane, as well as gotten tons of silver lions. So it's just an excellent plane to have, but really you have to place your own value on it. If you don't think that's worth $40 or $50, then obviously you don't buy it. But I would personally place this at $30 to $40 in terms of cost. I mean, relative to other planes in the BR, for example. So one plane that's a fairly popular pack plane is the F-86-35, the Sky Blazers or Sky Sabers, if I'm not mistaken. That plane is not that great for its BR, but this plane, for example, in comparison, is just a much better 6.0 plane compared to, I believe it's the 8.7 that the Sky Blazers plane is. So it's just a significantly better plane than a lot of other planes that you'll be purchasing at the BR. So, I mean, that alone, you'll be able to trump almost anything else in game at 6.0. It's immediately, as soon as this plane was introduced, it became one of the best dogfighters in game, bar none. I'm very confident in saying that, and as soon as you get into this plane, you'll see exactly why. It's just a menace in the sky. You can shoot anything down with ease, and especially if you're really good, with stealth ammunition. I mean, this thing, you can take any plane out and outturn any other plane, and for that reason, I fully recommend it. Insofar as like an out of 60 score, so I give different, I guess you could say, scores. For some of my other reviews, I'll just kind of give like a quick 45 out of 50 for this. So it's not perfect. It's not the most versatile plane in the game, but it's armament, agility, controls, all that. They just way more than make up for it. And it's just, again, an excellent plane. Don't buy it if it costs over $100, but if it's anything like $30 or less, especially, go ahead, purchase this. This plane is better than the P-57 when that first came out, and I was in love with that plane when it came out for the event, for Operation Heat. So either way, this is Tankenstein. Thanks so much for watching my video, guys. I really appreciate it. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, and either way, see you guys in the sky, and have a great day. Take care, everyone.